By now, you've probably heard that the Big Ten had been talking about selling its soul and its rights to a private equity firm for more than $2 billion. Would the firm, whose only interest is making profits, have demanded that the Big Ten get rid of its less popular and profitable teams? I'll give you my opinion on this. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And if you could share, like, and follow, that would be great. And you can hype YouTube videos now. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So, were we heading down a path to kick out Big Ten teams? I want to talk about this. And we got a couple of coaching hot seats in the Big Ten. We're going to discuss that. And we'll have our Tuesday tweets. We'll have some fun at the end. But I'm going to keep this simple, but in case you only pay attention to just the games and not necessarily what goes on behind the scenes and off the field, this has been something that's been in the news for a couple of weeks. It's quieted down since then, so nothing's imminent. But you may or may not be completely aware that in the past few weeks, the Big Ten had been considering selling its rights to a private equity firm for the tune of like $2.4 billion in exchange for a financial share, roughly the equivalent of one Big Ten team. You know, all the money that comes into the Big Ten, they split it up. Well, they were going to give a share away to this equity firm as well. It was the University of California Pension System, an investment fund, UC Investments. And they offered the Big Ten $2.4 billion for a minority stake in the entire conference. Literally wanted to buy the conference. That's the thing that's being discussed in various parts of college football. The NCAA doesn't own the Big Ten, for example. So in a moment, I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to tell you why something like this, should it ever happen, should make smaller schools or schools that aren't as, that don't do as well, like Rutgers or Northwestern or Purdue or a handful of other schools like that, they should be in panic mode if this ever comes to fruition. Now, under this recent proposal, each of the 18 teams in the Big Ten would all get a slice of a pie. They would get a cash infusion of over $100 million. Right now, here, go. All these expenses you got to deal with, here's $100 million. Okay? There was chatter that some of the larger athletic departments like Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State would receive maybe like $150 million, and everybody else get over $100 million. That's kind of money we're talking about here. The Big Ten properties is what it would be called, would consist of 18 teams. And in addition to 18 teams, then the Big Ten office, that'd be like a 19th team. And then the equity firm would be like a 20th team. So we're talking about 20 shares, all dividing up this pie into 20 slices, equal shares of the annual revenues that would go to this new entity. The conference itself, Tony Petitti, the office, all that, they would still handle all the rules and the schedules, but the entity would act as a silent minority, like a 1/20th financial partner. Some reports suggested that they might be a little larger, like 10% ownership of all this. This new equity, this new subsidiary, if you will, would be called Big Ten Enterprises. And this new company would own the league's media rights, sponsorships, and most, if not all, revenue-generating assets. And this deal would also include a 10-year extension of the Big Ten's grant of rights deal, which is the legal document that binds member schools into the conference and their media deals through 2046. Now, the quick cash infusion with all this is very tempting for everybody trying to meet budgets and all that kind of stuff. Athletic departments, some of them are struggling. And of course, with coaches' salaries, buyouts, student athlete revenue sharing, they're all going to come up with $21 million a year for that. Cash is a little tight in some places. Some sports are getting cut at some schools as well. So the long term of this could be very short-sighted. Given the rate of growth and the current media deals that the Big Ten has been able to get the last few years, and what they're expected to get here in the near future, they've been an industry leader. They've been getting more money than any of the other conferences, the other anybody making a decision to give away their broadcast rights, for example, right now in the 2020s. By the time we get to the 2040s, it's going to look like a bad deal. We need to look no further than the current grant of rights deal that the ACC is under right now, that they signed years ago. And when they signed it, it looked good, but now it's so undervalued that those schools have been trying to get out of that deal. They're trying to sue their way out. So the Big Ten, I don't think they're going to be so quick to say, hey, hundreds of millions of dollars looks great today in the 2020s. By the time we get to the 2040s, and that seems like a long way away, but they may be earning pennies on the dollar, what they should be earning, and be in the same boat that the ACC is trying to get out of right now, or the schools in the ACC. By the way, if such a deal is ever consummated, the ideas of the super conference, maybe the Big Ten and the SEC joining forces, that'd be out the window. It'd be everybody for themselves. If this happened with the Big Ten, the SEC would be looking for their deal. Big 12 would be looking for their deal. It'd be crazy at that point. Now, this whole entire idea that we're talking about just a couple of weeks ago picked up a lot of steam quickly. And I mean, the prospect of a 9-figure cash infusion just sounded too good to pass up. So everybody's like, oh, this is going to happen. There were reports that there was momentum, that this was going to happen, but that's cooled off. So it's not going to happen now. It's not imminent. In fact, there was a recent meeting just a few days ago with the school presidents and the chancellors. And schools like Michigan and USC held up their hands and says, what are we doing here? Why are we giving up our value like this? Let's put the kibosh on this. This might be a bad long-term plan. So I'm glad reasonable heads prevailed, because in my opinion, if this deal came together, first of all, you'd have the schools just addicted to this cash. And, the entity would only be consumed with making a profit, right? That's what these equity entities do. And eventually, in my opinion, they would pressure the league to get rid of the lower performing schools. They're only about the profits. Like, why do we have to have these schools anymore? They don't make us any money. No, we'll just stick to the big schools and maybe bring in some even bigger schools. That's what these firms do. I've worked for a major broadcast company before, and they brought in an equity firm to bolster its cash reserve and to pay off its debt. And guess what they did? Budget cuts were made, and I lost my job. I lost my job on a day when 2,000 people lost their jobs. It happens. That's what they do. They cut it down to the bone, and they just want to make profits. Something like this could happen in the Big Ten. Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern, Minnesota. Do their football programs bring in enough money to satisfy the entity if the entity was in charge? Maybe not. Would an entity cut underperforming schools to enhance profits? That's what these entities do. However, let me remind you why this is a bad idea, because such a hypothetical question could have included Indiana in this conversation as recently as 18 months ago. And look at Indiana now. They're the second-ranked team in the country. As recently as 2006, Rutgers was ranked 7th in the AP College Football Poll. Northwestern won the Big Ten title in football as recently as 2018. They defeated Ohio State. Purdue made it to the Big Ten championship game as recently as 2022. Iowa made it as recently as 2023. Now, granted, those last two examples were when we had unbalanced divisions, but nevertheless, they were recently relevant. All of these things are cyclical, and they can turn on a dime. And look no further than Indiana. That turned quickly. That was the losingest football program in the history of college football. They've earned 700 losses over 120 some years. And now look at them. These things could turn around. If you want to just get rid of somebody because they're not performing, and all of a sudden you're missing out on an opportunity like Indiana is running it right now. So, it'd be unfair to kick anybody out while chasing the almighty dollar. Just keep it simple. I'm going to keep an eye on this story moving forward. Again, it's died down for now, but who knows if another entity will come in with a bigger offer. Surely it will happen either in the Big Ten or another conference, and it'll have to be considered. but I wanted to lay down the foundation in simple terms without getting into the weeds of finances. Because look, it's football season. I want to talk about football and the games as much as anybody else. But this is a big story, and it seems it's dying down just as quickly as it arrived for now. We love your comment on, though. I know you guys, some of you guys pay attention to this stuff. In the meantime, if you're new, hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And if you could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, that would be awesome as well. We always appreciate that. Coming up, plenty more to talk about here. I want to talk about some hot seats, Michigan State, Wisconsin. Actually, an interesting development at Wisconsin. We'll get to all that as we continue. And then later on, our Tuesday tweets. It's all coming up right here in a minute on Locked On Big Ten. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial institutions that we're tied to. We have bank accounts, savings accounts, probably a 401k, property, credit cards, all this stuff. This is where Monarch comes in. They help you organize all of this. And otherwise, if you're not, you don't have the big picture right in front of you, you're leaving money on the table, missing opportunities. Don't see where all your money's going. That's why when you start using Monarch, this all-in-one finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Super easy dashboards to read, smart tools, help you see where your money's too much is being spent, where you could save, bring in your spouse or your significant other's information all in one place. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKDOWNCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKDOWNCollege for half off your first year. We love watching games. We love talking about games because they're exciting and we're passionate fans. It can be even more exciting with FanDuel. And since we're in the middle of the NFL season, FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And the app is super easy to use. First of all, quick payoffs if you win. And also, you can find the point spreads, game totals, player props. You can parlay stuff, futures. It's all very easy to navigate. If you want to do NFL, you want to find some college football, it's all very easy right there. Download the app today and get involved. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We also have a website, talkbig10.com, where we put everything at with all of our podcasts. And there are links for you to buy your favorite school merchandise. You want some shirts with your school logo on it, hats, pennants, all that right there with our podcast. Go back and check out yesterday's complete recap of the entire Big Ten weekend if you want that for a second listen when you're done here. Meanwhile, let's talk about some hot seats and some coaching moves. I mean, every day it seems like a coach is on a hot seat or getting fired around college football. It's what I refer to as college football coaching firing season right now. Now, we never condone the firing of a coach. We never root for a firing of a coach on this podcast. We don't ever do that. But if it's in the news, we're going to discuss it. This is all on the heels of James Franklin getting fired at Penn State. So who else is in trouble in the Big Ten? A couple guys to watch. Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. This is an interesting story because there's been developments just this week. And, of course, Jonathan Smith, a couple rumblings at Michigan State. That's a school that's still paying off Mel Tucker. Well, sort of. They're fighting it, right? Wrongful termination and all that. But following Michigan State's loss to Indiana on Saturday, the Spartans suffered their fourth straight double-digit loss. And while I criticized the team as much as anybody else 2 weekends ago for quitting in the UCLA game, I thought they bounced back because in the UCLA game, they gave up 38 unanswered points. They looked like they quit. UCLA players said the Spartans quit. It was bad. It was a real bad scene. Now, I thought, to their credit, they bounced back. I thought they came ready to play against the Hoosiers. They did. In fact, I thought they looked really good against the Hoosiers in the first half when they controlled the ball for 19 minutes. Indiana only touched the ball 3 times in the first half. Now, they scored. They turned them into touchdowns because Indiana's good. I mean, at the end of the day, Indiana's just a superior team and they pulled away in the second half. But there was a good effort by Michigan State. That's a credit to Jonathan Smith, keeping his team engaged. Here's what's not helping Jonathan Smith. Indiana. Coach Jonathan Smith and Curt Cignetti were both hired at the same time by their respective schools. IU has lost just 2 games since then. It's been one of the greatest turnarounds in the history of the sport. Currently the number 2 team in the nation. Meanwhile, Michigan State's program, they're stuck in second gear over that same time period, and people are starting to get a little frustrated. Plus, they got their biggest rival coming up in Michigan. And Michigan's still trying to sort out who they're going to become. And, these rival games, they can be tricky. They can help sustain a coach's career or they can end them. So that game's going to be interesting. Stay tuned to that. We're going to go live after that game on Saturday. I'll have more details coming up in a minute. Now, let's talk about the Luke Fickell situation at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's situation on the field is worse than Michigan State's. The wheels have fallen off this program. They haven't scored in 2 games. I mean, literally haven't scored in 2 games. And they were at home in front of the home fans. They got shut out by Iowa. They got shut out by Ohio State. So Badger fans, in fact, haven't seen their team score a point at home since they mustered up 10 second half points against Maryland on September 20th. And that game, they were shut out in the first half. And they might not score this week either. They got a game at number 6, Oregon. Then they host Washington, who I think is a good team, not a great team, but a good team. Then they're at number 2, Indiana. Then they host number 23, Illinois. Then they close it out at Minnesota. Now, a few weeks ago, I thought maybe they close it out with a win. But Minnesota, did you see their defense on Friday night? They sacked Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola 9 times. And Nebraska didn't even score a touchdown in that game. That's a pretty good defense by Minnesota. So it's looking bad for Wisconsin. And thus far, Fickell, in the middle of year 3, he's 15-18. They're 0-4 in the Big Ten. Again, realistically, there might not be another win on this schedule. And, if that's the case, then the Badgers, they just crash and burn to the finish line and finish at 2-10 this year. Now, and then 0 for the Big Ten. Typically, 99% of the time, a coach with that scenario, 0 for the league, 2-10, year 3, getting shut out at home. That's an automatic firing. It just historically, you're gone. But not at Wisconsin. So athletic director Chris McIntosh, who by the way is a former Wisconsin player, he recently held a meeting with the players, and they left that meeting reportedly feeling that their head coach would be around for the rest of the year and be back for next year. Chris McIntosh issued another statement, another vote of confidence. And then he also said, look, the problem is that we got to spend more money and put more resources into football. So it seems like his thinking is that Luke Fickell has not been given all the tools to succeed with money and name, image, and likeness and what have you. And they're going to keep him around and they're going to give him more resources. They're going to spend more money on football. Now, it's probably bad for basketball, but football's driving this thing. Look what's going on in Indiana. That used to be a basketball school. They're definitely a football school now. Look, I think Luke Fickell is a good football coach, and his program just got away from him. And maybe it's fair. Maybe he didn't have the resources. But I think Wisconsin really liked the idea of hiring Luke Fickell when they hired him. Look, before he came to Wisconsin, everybody, I think it'd be unanimous. Everybody said Luke Fickell's a good coach. Look what he did at Cincinnati. He's got Ohio State ties. Guy knows football. Likable guy, right? Everybody's bending over backwards to make this relationship work. And they also knew that this schedule was going to be a bear. It's the toughest schedule in the Big Ten, and it's not even close. And so, as we've talked about here on Locked On Big Ten, they quietly extended his contract over the offseason, over the winter, because I think they knew they were going to have a tough year this year looking at that schedule. Now, I don't think they thought it was going to be this tough. But I thought if they gave him the extension, it'd be harder to get rid of him, even if they had a bad season. We went in saying, look, it's possible that Wisconsin could have a better season here in 2025 than 2024, but you wouldn't be able to see it because of the schedule was so tough. And boy, is that coming true, right? So I don't think they were expected to see 2-10 though. But anyway, it looks like Luke Fickell will be around for another year. Meanwhile, real quick, I want to run down the TV times because, first of all, we didn't know until Saturday night that this upcoming Saturday night with the NBC 7:30 game was going to be, and we needed to slot everything out since. So I'll tell you, UCLA at number 2 Indiana, that's going to be the big noon kickoff on Fox. That's 9 a.m. UCLA time. See if they're awake for that one. Northwestern is at Nebraska. That's the 12 o'clock FS1 game. These are Eastern times. Rutgers is at Purdue. That's at noon on the Big Ten Network. Number 23, Illinois is at Washington. That will be 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota, and that defense I was talking about, taking on a pretty good defensive team at Iowa. That's at Iowa, 3:30 Eastern. That's the CBS game. Wisconsin is at number 6 Oregon. We mentioned that a moment ago. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific on FS1. And then number 25 Michigan is at Michigan State. That is the 7:30 Big Ten Saturday night game on NBC. And after that game, we will go live here on Locked On Big Ten for your immediate reaction and mine as well. And that'll be around 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. So those are our plans for the weekend. USC, Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State on buys for this week. All right, we always like features at the end of our podcast every day. Tuesdays, yesterday, if you want to go back for a second, listen and check it out, my top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets right from X. You send them, I put them on the show. We'll talk about those in a moment. Tomorrow, we'll power rank 1 through 18. By the way, what do we do with like Wisconsin? That's won 4 in a row. Indiana, are they better than Ohio State? 1, 2, where are we going to go? We'll have that on tomorrow's podcast. Thursdays are Big Ten Classics and live action from the Big Ten Network. And Fridays, we make our picks official with our pigskin picks. All that coming up. So it's coming up next. We got our Tuesday tweets. We'll share them. Some good ones out there as well. That's coming up here in a minute on Locked On Big Ten. Game time helps you get to games, right? We like talking about games. We're in literally the middle of the college football season, and sometimes you're like, man, I'd really like to go to a game. I need tickets. Oh, okay, I'm in charge for my group. No problem with game time, right? You want to be part of the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy, then the stands, when the hair stands up on your arms when a touchdown is scored. So getting tickets historically could be a battle, but now with game time, super easy now. No hidden fees, prices that you get are right there in front of you. No surprises, right at checkout. When you use Game Time, the app gives you the advantage of being a fan. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, and what you see is what you pay with those prices. And here's the deal. You can see a panoramic view from the seat of the ticket you're about to buy before you buy it, just to make sure. It's awesome. Take all the guesswork out of buying college football tickets. You can get to a college football game for $25 with Game Time. That's right. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten and making us your first listen each and every day. And we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget, we have audio version only at Apple and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts, if that's your thing, in addition to being on video on YouTube as well. All right, Tuesday tweets. You can follow us on Twitter at Talk Big Ten. I pulled a few. Let's put them on the full screen. If you're audio only, we'll just describe what we have here. This first one's from at Clay Travis at Outkick. He's got a list of his top 10 or his top 10 college football rankings. He says his top 10 is flawless. If you disagree, you are wrong. He has the Indiana Hoosiers number 1, Ohio State number 2, followed by Alabama, Georgia, and A&M. How about Vanderbilt at 6? And Miami, which was the former number 2 team in the country before Indiana took that spot, falls to number 10. But in his poll, he says Indiana is the best. I have made comparisons between Indiana and Ohio State on this program before. I think Indiana is very favorable head-to-head with Ohio State in a lot of the positions. We'll talk more about that again later on. Here is from at Mr. Ohio. It is the video of the first of 2 Carnell Tate touchdowns this weekend where he went flying in the air to get it. About every other week or so, he has had a highlight reel touchdown catch this year. He is phenomenal. He and Jeremiah Smith together make a great tandem. This is from at Ben Stevens. It is a picture of a video of the Penn State-Iowa game. And it says, when people talk about the environment of Kinnick Stadium at night, show them this clip of Iowa's clutch 4th down stop, which basically ended the game, and tell them to turn the volume up. I'll have it here for you if you want to go pull it up. He's absolutely right. That place is insane at nighttime. And congratulations to the Hawkeyes for getting that win. Here is from at Hoosiers Connect and the now number 2 Hoosiers. This is Curt Cignetti, their head coach, at home, sitting in his lazy boy. He often said he's a simple man. He loves family. He loves football. And the one thing he does after the game, he goes home, he sits in that lazy boy. That's what he does. He's had it for 38 years. You know, he just got the $93 million contract extension. He said his wife just ordered a bunch of new furniture for the house, but the lazy boy stays, even though it doesn't really match anything. And here's a picture of him kicking back, feet up, ready to go. That lazy boy's going nowhere. Here's another picture of Curt Cignetti. He gave a nice little strange side-eye view over the weekend against Michigan State. This is from Ian. It says, if you Google Curt Cignetti, of course, this saying is Google me, I win, you'll find a career head coaching record that has grown to 137 wins and 37 losses. That's right, 100 more wins than losses. He's 18-2 at Indiana. This is the point I was making earlier about Michigan State. Jonathan Smith came in the same time Curt Cignetti. Cignetti at IU is 18-2 thus far, 12-1 in the Big Ten, 13-0 at home. Special coach, hashtag IU football. Also, this is from at Fox College Football. Only Ohio State and Indiana received first place votes in this week's Week 9 AP poll. Yeah, Ohio State 1, Indiana 2. They both got first place votes. That's it. And it asks, who is your number 1 team? There could be an interesting discussion. I've pointed it out, and I'll say it here on the record. I think in a couple of weeks now, if things remain the same as far as unblemished records, when the College Football Playoff Committee meets for the first time and makes the first set of rankings, I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana's won, Ohio State's 2. I mean, that resume win, the win against number 9 Illinois, number 6 Oregon. Yeah, I think there's some there. This is from at Indiana on the Big Ten. Number 2, first time ever with their rankings. It is a graphic of the AP poll. Big Ten, once again, home to the nation's top 2 teams. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2. Oregon coming in at 6, so 3 of them in the top 6. Illinois 23, and Michigan back in the top 25. Speaking of Michigan, here's a graphic of their 24-7 win over the Washington Huskies. Michigan scoring the final 17 points in this game to down Washington. This is from at Big Ten Football. The game was tied at 7 at the half. Then they pulled away. I thought Washington would give them a better game, but they threw 3 interceptions in that game. 2 of them on back-to-back possessions. Hey, we don't get to do this often. Here's a shout-out from at Fox College Football, or College Football on Fox. Northwestern shutting out Purdue. Coach Braun getting a nice look here with the graphic and the shutout. 19-0 was their win there. Here's a picture of Mark Gronowski at Iowa. Hawkeyes get the big W from at Big Ten Football, the 25-24 win over Penn State. It's a final. And here is a graphic from CBS Sports College Football. We're headed to Iowa City for a big-time Week 9 showdown. The Iowa Hawkeyes hosting the Minnesota Golden Gophers Saturday, October 25th, 3:30 Eastern, as we mentioned earlier. That's on CBS. But they wanted to promote the game, so Kirk Ferentz and PJ Fleck on the screen with their school logos ready to go. And speaking of kickoff times, here's a graphic from at University of Michigan football right after it was announced the Michigan State game, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern at East Lansing on NBC, and then live afterward right here on Locked On Big Ten. Hopefully you can join us for that. All right. Don't forget, you can send us tweets on X at any time at Talk Big Ten. Love to hear from you. We'll put them on a program on every Tuesday. In the meantime, we're here every day, Stay tuned for the latest news, analysis, and opinion on that news. All 18 teams. Hit that subscribe button before you leave. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And many ways to interact with us at Twitter, at TalkBig10, our website, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10. Hit the subscribe button. And also that way, again, you never miss an episode if you subscribe. We're here in the Big Ten Club every single day. Tell your friends about us too, because if you're a Big Ten fan, and I think you are because you're watching or listening, I know you know other Big Ten people. Let them know we're out here every single day. Another quick note, college football fans, Locked On at Fire TV present the college football kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12 does a great job anchoring that, along with two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and then our Locked On experts all come on and just give it all to you for the weekend. College football preview only Locked On could do. Catch the college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. That'll do it for us already. We're rolling into this week. Can't wait to meet you again tomorrow for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for checking us out.